At Villeries Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villeries provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villeries Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency, 504-556-0809 or davemietteINSagency.com.
For over 48 years, Southern Tires and Auto Repair has provided services across the New Orleans metro area. Southern Tires offers a range of tires for all vehicles and ATVs. We also have a full suite of auto repair options, including brake repair, rim repair, custom exhaust, steering and suspension, and so much more. Southern Tires and Auto Repair, 2550 Hickory Avenue in Metairie.
Cnc Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, Cnc provides patient-centered care for your entire family. Cnc Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Of course, we are live at WLAE-TV. Also, we are live streaming now on the WLAE-TV YouTube page. So those of you that, again, have tablets, smartphones, you'll be able to check us out live each and every Thursday at 1 o'clock here on WLAE and also our WLAE YouTube page. Over the next hour, we're going to cover all the home teams as we do. New Orleans Saints. We'll talk a lot about Drew Brees this afternoon. We'll talk about LSU basketball going into the tournament. We'll take a look at what's happening with the baseball teams. Also, again, what's happening with spring with our universities, as well as the New Orleans Pelicans. So, again, a full show for you to break it down. One of the best we have from The Athletic, from Fox 8, accomplished author, Jeff Duncan joins us on the program. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Eric. Beautiful day today in New Orleans. A great time to be alive in New Orleans.
There is no doubt. And, of course, we were just talking before the show. Looks like we're slowly coming out of this pandemic. The beautiful weather. We're going to have more people at these games now and hopefully getting back to more of a sense of normalcy. So things are looking up.
Hey, I was down in the quarter on Friday the last weekend, and I haven't seen that many people in the quarter in well over a year. It was kind of good to see that many people
really
out.
And I know that a lot of people are scared of it at this time when you get a lot of those crowds together. But look, we got like a 1% positivity rate in Orleans Parish. I think Jefferson's at like 3%. A lot of people are getting vaccinated now. Mm-hmm. Again, the hospital Turo reported yesterday they have 0 COVID-19 patients. So again, slowly but surely we're getting out of this, especially in South Louisiana. And I know, look, everybody's chomping at the bit. They want to go back to the games. They want to go back to their favorite restaurant, their favorite watering hole, go see their family once again.
Sure.
Get vaccinated and let's get this thing done.
Yeah, it's almost all encouraging news.
Yes.
And the mayor has gotten a lot of blowback, rightfully so, I think, in some areas, but also I think you have to say she's managed this thing about as well as we expected from an infection control standpoint.
It's been, she's been a little bit more stringent than other parishes.
That's a good way of putting it.
But again, she's got and look, I've been critical at times, but I do understand she's got a unique situation when you talk about a French Quarter, okay? And to be able to try to combat this with, again, people partying downtown, everything else that's going on. So I understand it from that standpoint. Just hopefully, again, this gets in our rearview mirror.
Yes.
No doubt about it.
We all agree on that.
Before we get started, tell the folks about the Athletic. You guys got a great subscription deal going on right now. Also, I'd like you to talk about with Fox 8, so you're doing there. And the book that you've written that is no more timely than it is right now with the situation with the retirement of Drew Brees.
Well, let me just start off with the deal we've got at The Athletic, the website I work at right now, Sports Writing National, kind of global website. We have 6 staff members here in New Orleans, so it's basically a New Orleans-based site as well. And we have a deal, Eric, for $1 per month subscription for new subscribers for the first 6 months. So for $6, you can get 6 months of it and try it out and see if you like it. I think you'll end up loving it. It'll be part of your daily news cycle because there's so much good stuff on there. I go on our site all the time, and I'm just amazed. We have 500 writers. I mean, it's people from all over the world writing for us now, and it's growing every day. So I wanted to plug that for sure. And also, look, Fox 8, I'll be doing the final play this weekend with that crew. We'll be breaking down the Breeze situation, obviously, and his legacy, as we're going to do today, and talk about the future of the New Orleans Saints. I mean, a decade and a half, they haven't had to worry about the quarterback situation. Now they do. It's going to be fascinating to watch how that plays out. And then the Breeze Peyton book sales have been tremendous. I really, really have been encouraged with how well it's sold, considering we're in a pandemic. Really hurt the ability to go out and market the book. But the sales were really, really over the top the first 6 months. And if you want to go online, find me either at my Twitter handle, @JeffDuncan_, or at the Facebook page for the Breeze and Peyton book. You can get a personalized signed copy. We're getting those out. Those have been very popular. We can get those shipped out to you right away.
And just a synopsis of the book, because I don't think people realize that you were able to go and pull the curtain back on something that really no one has ever been able to do. When you talk about this offense, Breeze, Peyton, the genesis of it, and of course how it kind of evolved over time.
Yeah, I think there's really 3 parts to the book. It's what makes Drew Brees tick, what made him so great, what makes Sean Payton such a great coach, and his individual strengths as a coach, and then how they collaborated to come up with this record-breaking offense here in New Orleans. I think that collaboration is unique in NFL history, where you have a head coach who played quarterback, coaching an elite quarterback like Drew Brees. We haven't seen that before. And I really wanted to find out how the sausage was made in this offense. I mean, we've all seen it, we've all watched it, but I wanted to find out, why is it so successful here? Is it Breeze? How much of it is Peyton's X's and O's acumen? How much of it is both? What is it that's made this offense so spectacular and continue to evolve over a decade and a half? That's also unique. So I was fortunate to get a lot of access out at Saints camp. Coaches brought me in, and I could have written a book twice as big. We really had to pare it down. We had so much great information on how this offense came together. And I make the argument in the book that it's the greatest offense in NFL history. I mean, they gained more yards, scored more points than any offense ever, and they're doing it over a long period of time is really unprecedented.
Right. Yeah. The sustainability is been huge.
Very hard to do.
Which we hope can continue.
That's a big question.
We're going to talk about that first, because I'll get into the legacy in a moment, but what the Saints are going to miss, because I think people have taken it for granted over the last 15 years. Saints fans have, if you go pre-Breeze, you were constantly worried about the quarterback position in a lot of cases. When Breeze went under center and people started to figure out again how good this guy was, and the collaboration with Peyton, and again the type of offense they were putting together, I think Saints fans kind of felt invincible. They felt that, again, no matter what, when number 9 was under center, they had a chance to win. Even if they were behind, they had a chance to come back. And if you look in the history of this organization, I don't think we've ever seen that up until this Breeze Peyton era, where you could say, for sure, I got a guy that if things are going wrong, he can turn it around. We can lean on him.
Yeah, it reminds me of is when you played pickup basketball in the park in your neighborhood, and there's always one guy in the neighborhood that's the best, right? And you had him on your team. You just automatically felt like you were going to win more than your share because we had the dude on our team. I think you're spot on. The Saints players, coaches, administrators, everybody in that building gained confidence by having Drew Brees there. And I've talked to people that on the business side that said as soon as he walked in here, we felt differently about ourselves. He brought that level of competence and respectability and gave credibility to the organization, and his ability on the field. I think what they're going to miss most, though, isn't his passing numbers, which are historic. He's going down in history as the most accurate quarterback of all time. There's no doubt about that. I think they're going to miss all the intangibles. I think they're going to miss the leadership traits, the class that he carried himself with, how he represented the organization. But more than that, internally, how he raised the bar for everyone in the building, the standard of excellence that he sought was contagious. It forced everyone else to try and meet that standard. And that is going to be gone. There's going to be a vacuum there. And I know it's going to be either Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill filling into that void. They're going to be able to do a lot of the things on the field that Drew Brees did, maybe some things he couldn't do. That's the part I don't think they're going to be able to replace, is the intangible leadership that he was just off the charts.
I agree 100% with everything you said. From the preparation, and again, he goes in, he's the first one in the building, he's preparing, he's there on during the bye week, going through again his repetitions like he would go on a game. The little things that he did to be able to again prepare for a game or prepare for a season, and then on the field. I look, Sound FX is coming back on Saturday, I believe, on NFL Network. It was on the other night. If you've never seen the Drew Brees Sound FX, I would ask everybody to, again, DVR that, try to get a chance to be able to check that out. The pre-snap reads, the secrecy between Brees and Peyton, getting guys lined up, making the line calls, which is normally something a lineman does. I mean, everything, the little things he did on the field, because again, he was part of this offense during the week in terms of setting up the plays, the game plan, etc. Can these other two quarterbacks do that? And that's going to be a question. And in the beginning, I don't know if they'll be able to do that at the level Brees did it.
Well, I'll give you a great example of maybe how they're going to miss Drew Brees, and the public might not be aware of how they're going to miss him. Joe Lombardi, the quarterback's coach, told me that when they go into the game plan every week, they usually start putting together on Monday, Tuesday morning. Sean Payton will come in and see what the game plan that the offensive staff has put together, and they'll start going over a play. He said there might be a run play, and I may have told you this story before. They might have a run play that they've looked at the upcoming opponent. Maybe it's the Falcons. Let's use them as an example. Maybe the Falcons defense, all the background they've seen on the Falcons, they might defend that run with 50 different looks. And he said there might be one look that we don't have an answer to on this run play, but it's only one of 50. And he said most teams would say, well, if they get into that look and we run that play, we'll just live another day. We'll run it. We might gain 1 yard. We might lose a yard, but we'll live with those odds because it's only one of 50 chance that it's going to happen. He said, well, with Drew Brees there, we know he's going to ask us to have an answer for that one look. And we cannot take the game plan to him without an answer. He does not go to the line of scrimmage without an answer for every play. And so he said that causes us often to spend another hour coming up with a solution just for the chance, the 1 in 50 chance that it might play and cause them a 1 yard gain. That's the standard as what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that I think you're going to miss. It's not going to be replaced because no one ever has had that drive and attention to detail that Drew Brees had.
Also, this offense is second nature for him. It's been developed for Brees, by Brees and Peyton, whereas now this offense is going to change a little bit depending on who's going to be under center. And there's no way you can say with just a few years under your belt, 1 or 2 years with Taysom Hill, a year with Winston, that after 15 years, that again you're going to get the same type of knowledge and just of the offense, but also again how to attack the defense with this offense.
Yeah, and I'd be interested to talk to Sean Payton and Pete Carmichael about, did they have enough of a period of time, an evaluation period, to get a good beat on Jameis Winston and know what routes it is that he's comfortable running, because when they tailor this offense, that's what they're going to do around his skill set. And do they have a feel now for what type of receivers he wants that are going to be complementary to his skill set? And I was telling Larry Holder, my colleague, yesterday, I said, we may be seeing this happen right before our very eyes. Some of the releases that they've made this offseason, Jared Cook, Josh Hill, Emmanuel Sanders, all very good players, productive players in a Drew Brees offense, but also in their 30s, not the fastest at this stage of their careers. What we might be seeing is them tailoring this offense right now to the skill set of Jameis Winston on the perimeter core.
100% agree. And you would think that's going to happen, right?
Right.
I mean, again, Peyton's going to get down, just like, again, it started with Breeze, they're going to collaborate. They'll try to, again, assuming it's Jameis Winston,
right,
making the offense, again, comfortable for what his skill set is.
And maybe getting younger and faster on the perimeter, because the last few years of Drew Brees, they really weren't a deep threat at all. So players like Deontay Harris, Marquez Callaway, Traquan Smith, there might be parts of their game that are opened up with Jameis Winston at quarterback because he's got the big arm and he can get the ball down the field. So they may be trying to tailor this offense with some different personnel than what would have worked or complemented Drew Brees.
Great point. Culture, locker room, maintaining that culture. Brees was the guy. I mean, again, you walked in the door, you knew it was Drew Brees' team. How do they maintain that culture? How do they continue, again, that culture that's been built that attracts people the free agents to want to come to New Orleans?
Yeah, the Drew Brees effect.
Right.
I mean, Emmanuel Sanders came here for less.
Yes.
Because he wanted to be a part of it. Some coaches have told me in the past they've come here because of that. That's going to be, I think, remains to be seen how it plays out. I have heard nothing but positive things about the leadership ability of Jameis Winston, but I think he's clearly a different kind of leader. And Drew Brees was the sheriff of the locker room just by his mere presence. Everyone had such respect for him, nobody got out of line. I mean, and I think that is a question that we're going to have to find out the answer to. Can Jameis Winston keep everyone, all the egos in check, all the personalities, all those things that Brees had command of when you're that level of player? And it's the same thing that if you talk to players or hear comments from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, once they got Tom Brady, he brought that there. And I think it's an intangible that can't be measured, what Drew Brees brought.
Let's talk about his legacy now, on and off the field.
Well, it goes beyond sports. There's no doubt about that. I think the most important thing was the leadership. I go back to that. He came to New Orleans at a time when it was 6 months removed from Hurricane Katrina. The city was still in recovery mode. There was a dearth of leadership in this city at that time. General Honoré had left by then. Everyone gravitated to him. And I think everyone was looking for someone to believe in, something to believe in. And all of a sudden, here comes this guy at the most important position on the New Orleans Saints. And everyone, I think, was skeptical at first because Saints fans, rightfully so, had seen a lot of broken down veterans come here, and it didn't work out. And here, all of a sudden, immediate success on the field. They go 3-0. They have a commander on the field, with the presence of a politician, but also the ability of a fighter pilot. And that combination of on and off the field leadership, I think Saints fans were over the moon and immediately gravitated to his ability on and off the field to lead. And they made the success on the field made people proud to be from New Orleans. There's not a lot of people, frankly, that have had that effect. I mean, people are proud of the entertainers that have come out of here. We haven't had a lot of big-time business leaders or a lot of big-time political leaders that make people proud. Mostly it's embarrassed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so all of a sudden you had someone in this high-profile position that made you proud to be from New Orleans. You would be proud to be a Saints fan and wear your Fleur-de-Lis logo. That changed with Drew Brees and obviously Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis and the other people deserve the credit, but it was Drew Brees as the face of the franchise, and he embraced that role, and he made it cool to be a Saints fan again, and he changed the profile, the perception, the image of the organization almost overnight in a team sport that's so hard to do. It's one thing to be LeBron James and go in where you're one of 5 starters. You can change something pretty quickly in basketball. Football, it's not that easy to do. The Saints were always kind of the lovable losers, laughing stock to some degree. They had some pockets of success, but all of a sudden they became one of the most successful, one of the most fun to watch teams in the league. I think that was another thing that was important. You had defensive coaches that had been here all along, Ditka, Mora, Hazlitt. All of a sudden you get an offensive mind like Peyton. You pair him up with this great quarterback. The Saints, before Drew got here, 4 decades almost, had one Pro Bowl quarterback, Archie Manning, one time. They'd had just a legacy, one of the most sordid legacies in the league at that position. Now you have this incredible player And it was just, I think, too much for Saints fans.
Right.
They were overjoyed.
Sure.
And so all those things kind of married together. But I think more than anything, the way he carried himself, how classy he was, how selfless he was as a leader, that's what made the casual sports fan become a Drew Brees fan.
About legacy on the field.
Well, he's going to go down in history as the greatest pure passer, I think, of all time, the most accurate passer of all time, a guy who overachieved as a player. I mean, he was a great athlete. You talk to his teammates, they'll tell you how great an athlete he is. But more than anything else, it's the accuracy. I call him the Greg Maddux of quarterbacks. He doesn't blow you away with the big physical arm the way Nolan Ryan did. He painted the black, and he did it over and over, and that level of consistency to always be there and make that pass. Zach Strief said, he used to mock when they would criticize Drew Brees as a system quarterback, right? System quarterback. He said, you know what our system is? Our system is our quarterback knows where he's going with the ball as soon as he plants his foot at the top of his drop, and it's going to be put in a 1 foot square window right on his chin, right where it's supposed to be, and he's going to do it every time throughout the game, even when he's covered. He said, that's our system.
Yeah.
He said, and that's going to be his legacy, is that he was a surgeon on the field, and he changed the way NFL personnel people look at the quarterback position because of the success he had as a 6 foot quarterback. Now you have Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield. We can go down the list.
Yes.
Where everyone used to have to want the 6'5" big gun.
Got to have that prototype.
Yeah, now you can have success with a 6 foot and under quarterback. So I think he paved the way for all those kind of quarterbacks going forward.
The fact that they only won 1 Super Bowl in his 15 years here.
Well, nationally, it hurts his resume. There's no doubt about it. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
There's no doubt.
In 5 years, I'm going to be in that selection committee, and I'm going to say Drew Brees, and that's all we're going to have to say.
Right.
He's going to get voted in. We're not going to have to make a presentation, thankfully, because he's a first ballot guy. But as far as his place among the great quarterbacks of all time, that's how we measure quarterbacks, is by championships. He won 7 division titles, but only got to 1 Super Bowl.
Right.
That hurts him. But I think locally we all know there were extenuating circumstances there. I look back at 3 of those losses, the 2011 49ers game, 2017 Vikings Minnesota Miracle game, and the 2008 Nola no call. All 3 of those games, Drew Brees drove the Saints to a lead inside 2 minutes left in the game. In some cases, inside 30 seconds. And the defense couldn't get off the field. That's not his fault.
True.
How do you hold it against him? I guess you could make the argument they should have had a bigger lead, but the point is he came through in the clutch, gave his team a lead in the postseason, and the defense couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
So how does that legacy change if the defense is up to par? They may have 2 or 3 Super Bowls.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, you look at it, if they would have had the defense, a better defense consistently during that time, it had been multiple Super Bowls. There's no doubt about it. Let's talk about what's next. We know what's next for Drew Brees. He's going to be a studio analyst for NBC. He's going to be part of the coverage with Notre Dame football. I was surprised he was going to be part of the Olympics, which again is going to be interesting as well. But let's talk about here in New Orleans. We mentioned it just a few minutes ago. The groundwork's laid for the system, but Peyton is going to tweak this system now depending on the quarterback, the strengths of whatever that quarterback is. Let's talk about the battle between Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston. Your thoughts about the direction they're going to go?
Well, I think it's going to be an open competition. And my colleagues and I were talking this week on one of our inter-office channels about when's the last time that happened with the Saints. Yeah, I think it might be the Ditka days because if you go back, Jeff Blake pretty much got the job when they signed him in free agency. And then when Aaron Brooks took over, he was so spectacular.
Right.
Yeah, there really wasn't a competition between him and Jake Delhomme. I know it was kind of couched that way, but really wasn't.
No.
We haven't had a quarterback competition since maybe the Billy Joes and Danny Werfel days. So it's going to be fascinating to watch. And I think there will be split reps and all. I think they want both guys to have a fair shot at this thing and let it play out. But I think ultimately Jameis Winston, he understands the opportunity at stake here. His career is kind of at a crossroads. He flamed out or washed out, if that's a better term, in Tampa. He was the #1 pick in the draft. he's headed towards journeyman status if he doesn't make it happen here. And he knows there's a great opportunity. They've got 12 players on this roster that either made All-Pro or the Pro Bowl, still coming back. This is a talented roster.
Yes.
He knows that. So I think he understands he's going to have to really strike while the iron's hot here. Not only financially is it going to be on the line for him, but I think just his reputation going forward. So I think Jameis Winston, it's going to end up being his job to lose.
But there are two different skill sets here as well for the quarterbacks. I mean, again, you're talking about Taysom, who's more of a runner, okay, and more of a pocket passer with Jameis Winston. So, again, that was one of the situations we talked about when, Breeze went down. Jameis came in. When really he came in, again, he could run the offense, but once Taysom got in, the offense was tweaked a bit for his skill set. That's going to be interesting to see, again, how Peyton is able to deal with that going forward. Ultimately, again, who will be his quarterback.
Yeah, well, the way the Saints offense works, it's all in there. It's all there.
Right.
All the ingredients are there, and it's a matter of what they pull out for that game plan each week. So whoever the quarterback is, they just pull out those plays.
Right.
Put that into the menu. That's how it works on game day. So throughout the preseason, I'm sure they're going to have all of that thrown in there because of those quarterbacks competing.
Trevor Siemian is on the roster right now as the third quarterback. Chase Daniels, a guy that's been here before, has experience within this system. He is available. When it comes to the third quarterback, will it be a veteran, maybe someone that's been here before, they stay with Siemian, or will they draft a quarterback, or again, will they go with some of these young quarterbacks that other teams have given up on?
No, I think all those options are there. I don't think they've decided what they're going to do. I think a lot will come down to what veteran quarterbacks opportunities they have. Do they feel like New Orleans is a good opportunity? Because they could make the case that if Jameis Winston wins the job, you're the backup and Taysom's the Swiss Army knife role.
Which he flourishes at, right?
I know that. But if I'm a veteran quarterback now, I'm like, well, why do I want to go there? Maybe the best case scenario is I'm the backup,
right?
And maybe not. So like I think they're going to have a hard time attracting some of the really top level backups. So I think anything's on the table, though. Maybe a draft pick. We don't know. I was talking to Larry about this today. We don't know if Sean Payton's fallen in love yet with one of these rookies, one of these upcoming draft picks. If he does, I think they will definitely go get one because I think they will look at this as a big-time opportunity. They don't want to let this opportunity pass. And I'll just say this. The 2022 NFL draft does not have the same level or depth of quarterback that this draft does. So if you like one, it might be a good time to get one because the best one coming out in 2022 is Sam Howell from North Carolina, and then it drops off after him into the Bo Nixes of the world.
Right.
So you've got more depth this year. If, say, you like a guy like Trey Lance, a guy that might be a little bit of a developmental guy but has a lot of traits that are very attractive, maybe you take him and sit him behind these two veterans, let him learn and develop him down the road.
Before we go to break and we move on from off the quarterback position, was Russell Wilson ever in the cards for this team?
No. I wrote that. I mean, people were, I think, they had visions of sugar plums dancing in their head. They were hopeful, but I don't think Russell Wilson's going to be in the cards for anybody. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think Seattle's going to keep him, so I don't think it was ever really realistic at all. And I don't even know if the Saints like him. That's the other factor that no one ever considered. I mean, Sean Payton's very particular about what he wants in a quarterback.
Right.
And sometimes there's guys that might be stars in this league that he would never want to coach and never want to be a part of. I'm not saying that is Russell's. I'm just saying I don't know that. So we don't know if they ever even had an interest, even if he was available. So it was never even, I think, something they seriously considered at all.
But on the flip side, if you get a Super Bowl winning quarterback who is on the market and you get it once and you've just lost your legacy quarterback, you got to kick the tires at some point. You got to find out at least what they're looking for. If what the Bears did.
If you like him.
Right.
I mean, I just don't know.
Right.
I don't know if they liked him as a quarterback, as a leader. I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying I don't know that. But that's the first thing.
Yeah.
Do you want that guy in your building to be your leader? Because I know how much he thinks of that position as the CEO. And he's going to have to believe in that guy. There's been plenty of guys that have been connected to the Saints in the past that people have speculated on and thrown out there that I know for a fact Sean Payton never wanted.
Yeah.
So privately, it was not a thing. It was a rumor mill.
Yeah, there you go. Jeff Duncan is with us from The Athletic, Fox 8 Sports, accomplished author. I'm your host, Eric Asher. We'll take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about a little bit more about the Saints. Then we'll jump into the Pelicans. We'll also get into a little bit of March Madness. If we have time, we'll jump into baseball as well. You're listening to, you're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. We'll be right back.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amena, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Experiencing rough weather with a bad roof can be a nightmare. It doesn't have to be.
Suburban roofing, because when it comes to roofing, there is a difference.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. Our guest today is Jeff Duncan of The Athletic, Fox 8, and of course, accomplished author as well. All right, Jeff. I want to get into the losses, but before we do that, let's talk about the cap. Saints are under the cap as expected. Mickey Loomis, Luminomics, he's done a great job as he always does. They have three players that again, they need to work out long-term deals with. Lattimore, Ramczyk, Williams. Right now, estimating about $33 million against the cap. If they were to go long-term deals on all three of those guys, and of course we know Marcus Williams has the franchise tag, they can substantially drop the cap hit this year, spread that out over the life of their contracts, which would help them in terms of being players in free agency, and also, again, getting that draft class under the cap as well. Do you anticipate that happening?
Yeah, I definitely think that is the top priority now. Mm-hmm. Now that they got Jameis Winston under wraps for a year, under contract, these long-term deals, we're talking about two of the most important positions in the game, lockdown corner and starting tackle.
Yes.
And those next to the quarterback are arguably, along with edge rusher, the most important positions, and they have elite players at those two positions that are part of the long-term core. Two more guys from that famed 2017 draft class. You think about it, along with Marcus Williams,
yes,
all three guys from that 17 draft class, they already have Alvin Kamara under contract. So you're going to have four of them long-term getting second contracts. A lot of money wrapped up in them. I think they have to be careful, though. They can't kick the can too far down the road because you can't have too much of it all in one, 1 or 2 years down the road. They actually have some flexibility now with what they've done because some of these other deals have been backloaded to get under the cap. I think they have to I don't think they can afford to make it too backloaded.
Right.
Because the maturation of this roster is going to catch up to them in the next couple of years if they do it that way.
You buying into the conversations about Richard Sherman? Do you think he is a target for this team?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to me in a lot of ways. First of all, I think cornerback now with Janoris Jenkins being gone is the number one glaring need. You have an open starting spot that is at a critical position in a division with Mike Evans, Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, and we can go down the list. That's a huge need, and I know how much Sean Payton respects Richard Sherman. He obviously played for Chris Richard in Seattle, so they have a familiarity. So I could see that happening. I tweeted out the other day, Sean Payton has done this throughout his tenure, brings in guys that might be at the end of their careers, but they're from winning backgrounds, winning pedigrees, great level talents. I mean, Richard Sherman's going to be a Hall of Famer. He finds value in those players beyond the playing field, in the meeting rooms, in the locker room, that value, same thing Malcolm Jenkins brings. And so I could see it being a fit here. It's more, I think, a question of, does Richard Sherman want to come here? Right. Does he see this as I'm sure at this stage of his career, wanting to win a Super Bowl, that's going to be his top priority, and I'm not sure the Saints are in that conversation right now.
Well, and again, look, we just talked about it earlier today. I mean, the Breeze factor. Breeze is here, so probably a whole different situation in terms of attracting some of these veterans that may be on toward the end of their career because they feel they had a chance. Winston has to prove he's that guy.
Right.
Okay. He's got the tools around him. Look, as expected, we both said this, they were going to keep their core together, and they did for the most part. So it's not like Winston's going into a situation where the team is rebuilding. No, I like what Mickey said, retooling. That's exactly what they're doing. It's retooling.
And I would say this. I mean, if you look at the defense is where all the moves were made. Right. And if you look at them, almost every one of the moves, if you go down from Malcolm Brown to Quan Alexander to Trey Hendrickson, there is a quality young player right in line behind them that they feel good about.
With the exception of corner.
Except corner.
Right.
That's the one spot where there's not one.
Yes.
And so that's, to me, becomes the top priority, whether they address it by bringing in a vet like Richard Sherman and addressing it in the first round of the draft. I think they could easily do that and bring in 2 or 3 players.
I think they have to. I think you have to address it in the draft, and I think you got to get a vet as well. I don't think there's any doubt. Josh Hill gone. Quan Alexander, you mentioned. Emmanuel Sanders, Janoris Jenkins, Jared Cook, Nick Easton, Malcolm Brown, Thomas Morstead, Justin Hardy, who was an underrated loss, Trey Hendrickson, all those guys, again, that had a significant role, including Michael Burton, who is now not going to be re-signed because they signed Alex Arma as their fullback. These are all starters or guys that played significant playing time for this team last year. How do they fill those holes?
Yeah, well, here's the thing now. What you have is a roster that's very top-heavy. You've got these elite players that we're talking about that are getting ready to get on second contracts, players that have been paid, Teron Armstead, Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, and then you have really the bottom level, either young players on the rookie deals or rookies coming in. The middle class of the Saints is pretty much gone. Those are the players that got released.
Yes.
Most of them, they were making a significant amount of money, and yet at that stage of their career, the Saints couldn't afford them. So let's not kid ourselves. This roster is not as good as it was a year ago.
It can't be when you lose these type of players.
It's not. It's not as deep, but there is an opportunity there because you have such elite talent. If you strike in this draft and get some good young talent and guys like Zach Bond, Adam Troutman, these young players, like we saw C.J. Gardner-Johnson step up a year ago and become a key player for that defense in his second season. We could see something like that happen with a lot of these other young guys. They're going to have to because they're relying on a whole new young linebacker core is going to have to come forward. Guys like Malcolm Roach, Shai Tuttle, a defensive tackle. I mean, you're losing Sheldon Rankins and Malcolm Brown.
Do you think, that's what I was going to ask you, Rankins is gone?
Yeah, he's definitely gone.
Okay. Yes. The reason why I was going to ask this is because Monday Morning Quarterback reported that, again, some agents are saying that a lot of the free agents out there, with the exception, again, the big wave that you always get where guys get overpaid, okay, which, again, thankfully the Saints stay out of now, that they think that free agents are going to get 40 cents on a dollar, that a lot of guys are going to sign one-year deals, hoping to strike next year and get long-term deals when the cap is normalized. If you have a chance to be able to come back to a team, you're going to sign a one-year deal. Instead of going elsewhere and sign that one-year deal, why not come back to New Orleans and sign that one-year deal?
Well, and look, I would say in regard to Sheldon Rankins, he's very well respected and liked in the locker room, in the front office, and I know he likes it here. But that would be, I think, a last-case scenario for him because I think he can get more money somewhere else, even in considering what you're saying. I think there's going to be somebody who looks at him and say, this guy's still a young player, he's a first-round draft pick, a high first-round draft pick, and he can still be productive, and he'll probably get a multi-year deal. I don't think he'll have, put it this way, I don't think he's going to have to fall back on a one-year deal.
On a one-year deal, right. The only thing that he has to worry about is, again, the injuries. And again, he has been an often injured player. Yeah, so, do you invest in an often injured player?
Right, that's the question.
That's the biggest question.
But he's at least young to where, and it hasn't been the same injury. He's had a different injury every time. Those tend to be more unlucky than something chronic like Alex Anzalone's. He's had the same injuries over and over.
Right. For the first time in a long time, question mark going into this season. I don't know if anybody can say what they think the Saints are going to be. I mean, you think they're going to be still good because they have a lot of good players, but the most important position on the field is quarterback, and we don't know what that position is. Again, there are some depth issues now with losing a lot of players that were real contributors to this team. You really have to sit back, see what happens in free agency and the draft before we can really, and then into training camp before you can really judge what this team is going to be.
What I'm most concerned about with this team, I remember 5-6 years ago. I'm getting old, Eric. I can't remember my time very well, but remember the offseason.
You're getting old, and look at me.
Remember the offseason when they lost Roman Harper, and Jabari Greer, and Malcolm Jenkins, and Darren Sproles. Each one of those moves, I remember Sean Payton saying, you could make a case for in a vacuum, each one by itself in a silo, but collectively they lost a lot of leadership. I feel the same way this year. Guys like Thomas Morstead, he was the NFLPA representative.
Yes.
So was Drew Brees, Justin Hardy, quiet leader in the locker room. Craig Robertson's probably not going to be back. He was a key guy, a glue guy in the locker room. There's a lot of leadership walking out of that building.
Right. Who's
Who's going to step into those roles? They got some good ones, Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, certain guys, but I'm worried about that more than I am actually the physical talent.
Yeah, that's what I meant when I was talking about culture.
Yes.
Okay, because those are the guys. Breeze was the guy, and then all of a sudden now other guys have to fill that void. Let's shift gears to the Pelicans. 17-23. I'll say it again. I say it every week. Consistently inconsistent. They blow out the Clippers. They blow out the Cavs after getting blown out by Minnesota at home. They've lost twice to the worst team in the league in Minnesota. Some people, again, I've talked about Chris Finch, knowing the personnel. You don't lose to Minnesota, okay? And then, of course, what happened the other night, which against Portland, blowing a 17-point lead with a little bit over 6 minutes left in the game. You can blow out the Clippers, you can beat Utah, but yet you'll lose to some of the dregs in the NBA. What ails the Pelicans?
Well, yeah. So part of this is trying to decipher how much of this is just the nature of the NBA being kind of night to night. You never know.
Right. True.
And how much of it is just endemic and really a chronic situation of failure of leadership, of coaching, both.
Right.
Youth. The thing I like most about the way Stan Van Gundy addresses these losses is he doesn't make the youth excuse. I mean, there's a lot of young teams in this league.
There are.
And younger than the Pelicans that aren't blowing 17-point leads like that.
Gosh.
And it's not one player. It's like it's multiple guys making mistakes in the clutch. So I think we're just going to have to live with this evolution and hope eventually they start to put together longer stretches of consistency, because that's the number one thing hurting this team right now. And I think it comes back to, are they going to commit to the defensive end? Because I remember Rick Pitino always saying, there's one thing you can count on is your defense. That's usually just energy and effort, and rebounding and defense don't go away.
Right.
And your shot might go away, but defensive effort shouldn't. That's something this team's got to figure out, because it comes and goes sometimes within a game.
Yeah.
Their effort.
There's no doubt. Jeff, sometimes you'll see these guys playing really good team defense and individual defense, and then there's a drop-off. I've talked about just the fact that players don't stay long enough in college right now to really get a good defensive acumen. It's all in AAU. It's always about offense, showcasing your offense. You get in the NBA, it's the same type of deal. You almost got to learn to play defense in the NBA in some cases. Or if you're a guy that stayed 3-4 years in college, you come in as a defensive stopper type guy. That's your specialty. But most guys are coming into the NBA now. Their offensive repertoire is NBA, but their defense is not.
Yeah, well, I think what we're seeing is there's still at least one offseason away of adding and subtracting to this core and figuring it out. They need a player or two that has a little, for lack of a better term, dog in them.
There's no doubt.
They need somebody that's the junkyard dog mentality that gets after and plays the role, because that's missing on this team.
There's no doubt.
And I would say this. I think we're seeing organically happen with this team that this is going to be Zion Williamson's team. Brandon Ingram is going to be a Robin to the Batman.
No doubt.
You can just see it. Brandon Ingram in the clutch has shown he's really not reliable.
No, he's not.
He's a great player, a great offensive talent. He's an all-star level player, but the guy is Zion Williamson.
Right. Well, And it's hard for a young player to come in and take on a leadership role as well, which means, again, and look, I get it, Griff wanted culture-driving veterans. Some of those culture-driving veterans have not really done what they need to do on the court. My question is, will he be aggressive with the March 25th trading deadline coming up? Will we see him go after some of those dogs on defense, some of those alpha players that, again, were veterans? You know, for lack of a better example, which I always go back to, is Rajon Rondo. How he changed the face of that Pelican team when he came on and made this team a much better team. You know, those type of players to come in here. Look, I like J.J. Redick. Bledsoe has not been the player we thought he was going to be, but both those guys look like they may be on the block. Steven Adams is a nice player. But again, and look, a great guy in the locker room. They need something else, guys, that can push this team on and off the court.
Well, they're limited to some degree because of the contracts.
No doubt.
You know, the NBA trades are much more complicated than some of the other sports. You know, if you're taking Eric Bledsoe on the way he's played this year, I mean, you're going to have to get something in return because you're basically taking on his huge contract, and he's not really producing on the court. Whereas I think J.J. Redick makes a lot of sense. He's in, you know, last year of his deal. He still has a really desired trait.
He's attractive to a contender. There's no doubt.
That's what I mean. So I can see him being moved. In my opinion, what we're going to see Griff do is probably going to be more tweaking than something that's going to be major, just because I don't think he's really. I think he's limited, and I think looking at that deal now, the Drew Holiday trade. A lot of questions about it.
No,
because Eric Bledsoe's
for sure
really not been what they thought they were getting.
I agree with you, Jeff. But you know, when the deal was made, the first thing you thought was, okay, he's a drop off to Drew Holiday on the defensive end, but not that much of a drop off. But it's been a significant drop off on the defensive end. The leadership that Drew brought to the table, even though again he wasn't one of these big vocal leaders, he was the guy that led the example. You could see that's not there. Okay, so again. You walked into this thing thinking, okay, you know, Drew, you had a decent deal with this. Bledsoe could come in, and even if it's going a guy that could fill in for a couple of years and be a bridge guy for you, he just hasn't been that guy.
Right, and clearly that deal was made, though, to try and get Steve Adams.
Yes.
Right, so that was like the big prize they wanted, and they thought they would get more from Eric Bledsoe than they've gotten, but now they're kind of stuck with him. So really, I think, kind of limited him. I'm not sure who's going to want to take him in a deal unless they offer something up significant to get somebody to take him with him. That's I think a little bit of the albatross of that trade now, because if you feel like there's value to Lonzo Ball, and I think he's played himself into probably being here long term, but if you wanted to move an asset that might get you something in return, it's going to take someone like Lonzo Ball.
Let's talk about Zion, because he's at this point forward position, and I mentioned this on the radio show the last couple of weeks. That point forward position, he's never really played it, okay? So, again, we see him now. Well, the thing that really has impressed me is his court vision, his decision-making, his ability to pass the ball, okay? I mean, making some really nice passes you wouldn't expect a forward to make, passes that guards make. He has really filled this role admirably, and it really helps the Pelicans now going forward. Matter of fact, he should have the ball in his hand during crunch time. He should have the ball in his hand most of the time now because of the way he's been able to play. I'd love to get your take on the evolution of him now as a point forward instead of a guy that, again, is going to get in the middle and be a guy who's going to get the ball in the post.
Well, I'm working, actually, your timing's perfect on this. I'm working on a huge deep dive on Zion for The Athletic. And the more I've dug into his background, the more you realize this is what he was. I mean, he was a point guard his whole life until he had a growth spurt in freshman year of high school.
So a lot like Anthony Davis.
Yes, very much, almost identical. So he played point guard. That's why he's got those instincts and why he's got that handle.
Okay.
He was basically a 6-foot anonymous guy. He wasn't Zion Inc. until about junior year of high school when he had this huge growth spurt. So he has that experience. He's comfortable doing it, and you can see it. I mean, he is just scratching the surface of what he's going to be. I think he's next year, after he has another off season of probably getting in a little bit better shape, figuring out, like he's talked about this, the power he gets and the strength he has is one of his assets. So he doesn't want to lose too much of it, but there's got to be a fine line there, right? There's a balance to maintaining your conditioning, maybe still keeping the elite explosiveness, but also having the strength. I think he'll get to that. I mean, he's 20 years old.
Right.
But what he's doing, the historic numbers he's putting up, We're talking about he's being mentioned with the game's all-time greats.
And rightly so.
Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
He's putting up those kind of numbers.
Right, that's what I'm saying. What we're dealing with here is a future all-time great. And what I find most intriguing about him, Eric, and I know this might be getting a little bit off of your question, but it's his personality, it's his leadership skills. This guy's a rare. We've talked a lot about Drew Brees on this show. He is one of those types. He's a natural leader. He's very selfless. He brings people in. He's an inclusive guy. He treats the managers and the ball boys extremely well. He recognizes everybody's got a role. Those traits are kind of natural to him.
Yes.
And it's going to make him, I think, become one of those players where other guys are going to want to play with him because he doesn't want to hog the spotlight. He wants you to share in the spotlight. And I think the better he gets on the court, it's only going to make New Orleans a more attractive destination for free agents.
You taught me something today. I did not realize he played point guard.
Yeah, and you can see it the way.
Yeah. No, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
I mean, again, to see the handle and again the soft touch around the rim. I mean, it's just it's uncanny.
That I want to just say something real quick about that. That ability to finish with touch for his size and absorb contact, it's rare.
It is. There's no doubt.
It's rare.
I mean, again, to be that physical and then still have the ability to have that finesse around the rim, you don't see it. You just don't see it. Shift to LSU basketball. They lost the SEC championship 80-79 to Alabama. But
that was a heartbreaker.
It really was. But I mean, again, a different team in this SEC tournament. The first thing that stuck out to me again was the defensive intensity. You know, again, especially against Arkansas, you could see it. Getting their hands out, deflecting balls. When this team plays defense, when they rebound, they are a tough. They can beat anybody.
I agree.
The question is again, can they do that consistently, and then can they do that even when their offense is not there? Because it seems when their offense is not there, they kind of get down on themselves, and then the thing just kind of falls apart. When things are going well on the offense, it seems to help them on the defensive end, on the rebounding end. But to me, the only way this team advances is defense intensity, and also you got to rebound. You've got to be able to rebound.
Well, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Pelicans in that when they showed they can do it.
Yes.
It's just a matter of having the want to do it.
I think they're mirror images.
Right, in a lot of ways. I mean, they have the ability to play really good defense, and this team is talented. There's no doubt. They've got a couple of NBA players on that roster. I think they've got a very difficult first-round matchup.
Right.
St. Bonaventure is a salty veteran team. If they take them lightly, they'll be one and done. They better come out with that intensity in that first game because this is a team that doesn't have a lot of name recognition. And sometimes younger teams like LSU could overlook them. I'm sure Will Wade is going to drill home the challenge they've got ahead. But if they can get past that first game, I think this is a team that could play with anybody and make the Final Four.
Me too.
I mean, they could.
They could.
But consistently, they have to do it.
But they got to rebound. They got to play defense. And because offensively they're there, and especially again if Darius Days is putting up double figures. Right. That has been the formula throughout the season now. Okay, if he can somehow be that fourth guy and put up double figures, they got a good chance to win.
Yeah, and I love that point about Darius Days. I think he's one of those key guys, like the glue guy. When he plays well, you know what you're kind of getting with these other guys, but he's a very underrated player, and I really like the way they finished the season. I love their SEC tournament. They look like a different team, like you said. And the SEC this year has been very competitive. Arkansas, very well-coached team. I think they're dangerous in the NCAA. I think the SEC is going to do really well in this NCAA tournament. Yes, Nate Oates, the job he's done. They've had some really good coaches in the SEC the last few years, and it's playing out on the court.
We've seen that incrementally every single year. The SEC getting better and better in terms of coaching.
Yeah, getting better coaching, no doubt about it. You know, and I think Will Wade fits into that same thing. You got a lot of young, aggressive, a lot of energy from these coaches, and what they're going to have to do now is keep them from going elsewhere because a lot of people are interested in them.
You grew up in Louisville. Again, you love basketball like I love basketball. You love March Madness like I love March Madness. A little different March Madness this year now with the bubble inside Indianapolis, Indiana. Talk about that.
Well, I'm fired up about it. You know, Indiana's used to this because they, for years, had their state championship all in one spot there in Indianapolis. I can't wait to watch this tournament play out because – look, my alma mater, University of Louisville, did not make the cut. They didn't have a good year. They were one of many blue bloods, along with Kentucky, Duke, that aren't in the field. That's amazing. It's going to be wide open. I think Gonzaga is the deserved heavy favorite. But what a great story that would be if Gonzaga won the national title, which they're favored to do. But there's also a lot of other, schools like Baylor and, gosh, I'm trying to think of who the other one was. I was thinking. Anyway, the point is there's a lot of non-blue bloods that could make up this Final Four. It should make it fun to watch.
Well, and it's also part of guys going one and done from these big schools to the NBA. It's now evolved, and mid-majors now have a chance.
Yes.
Okay,
and
a legitimate chance.
Yeah, and even schools like, say, Oklahoma State, who gets one of these one and dones, like Cade Cunningham, they get one of them, an elite player like that, and they can make a run. I think it's going to be wild. I think there's going to be a lot of great drama, a lot of those last-second shots that we've seen over the years. I think this tournament could be a blast.
Got about 2 minutes left. How good is baseball in Louisiana this year?
Oh yeah, I think it's off the charts. I think. Look, LSU, we talk about the potential there. You can see some of these young players they brought in. They've done a good job recruiting. I feel bad for what happened with Tulane last year because I think that team was incredible. But college baseball, this is the best state, I think, in the South right now with what they've done at Lafayette and what Blake Dean's done at UNO. Tulane's got it on track. There's so many quality teams. I think it all comes back to the flagship school at LSU, what they've done there. I want to see LSU have a better postseason. That's been the problem the last few years is they haven't been able to put it together. But I like their potential. Their pitching staff is as good as it's been in a long time.
Yeah, I would agree. Jeff, before we let you go, one more time, tell us about the book. There's never been more timely time to get this book.
Yeah, well, look, if you want to read about Drew Brees and his career and what made him the great player he was and the great leader he was, I think this book you'll learn a lot. I'm getting a lot of nice feedback from people who said, I thought I knew everything about Drew Brees and Sean Payton until I read this book, because there's a lot of stories in there that I didn't know until I started reporting on it. Go online, either give me an email at jduncan@theathletic.com or on my Twitter account @JeffDuncan_, or you can find it online at local booksellers as well, on the stores here at any bookstore locally, and hopefully get a chance to read it and learn something about those guys.
There you go. Jeff, thanks for being with us as always.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Jeff Duncan of The Athletic and also Fox 8. Thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, there's plenty of ways to catch this program now. There's a rebroadcast tonight at 6 p.m. on WLAE-TV, 10 p.m. on The Deuce, WLAE-TV 2. Friday night, 9 o'clock, Pelican Sports Television, 10 o'clock on WLAE, 2 a.m. on Saturday morning on The Deuce, and then on 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon on Pelican Sports Television. Always at ericasher.com, always on our social media platforms, at Eric_Asher on Twitter, Eric Asher on Facebook, always on the WLAE YouTube page as well. And of course, we're live streaming every Thursday on the WLAE-TV YouTube page as well. Catch me on the radio, 106.1, that's 4 to 6 weekdays. You can listen live at ericasher.com. Our podcast is on the Anchor app and all the major podcasting platforms if you want to check it out there. And of course, as always, we would appreciate if you guys continue to support the underwriters of our program who make this program possible. Thanks to those underwriters. Thanks to Jeff Duncan for joining us. Also, again, the WLAE production staff, Ron Yeager, Jim Dodson, Tim Fairley, Tommy O'Connor, and the brand new daddy, a brand new daughter, William Hill, our director, back with us this week. Congratulations to Will and his wife and his family. And thanks to Jeff Duncan for joining us. I'm Eric Asher. We'll see you next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports.